Comic culture. Marvel and DC. Marvel was founded by Martin Goodman in 1939 under another company, Timely Comics. October of that year saw the first Marvel Comics release, which featured a rather different-looking Human Torch to what we see now. Not long after, in 1941, then-editor Joe Simon teamed up with Jack Kirby to create Captain America. By the 1950s, Marvel began to struggle in the post-war era as superheroes fell out of fashion. Roll on the swinging 60s, and superheroes were back in popularity. Marvel introduced the Fantastic Four, which was unlike anything seen in the comic book industry before. Characters often argued amongst themselves and seemed more like real people, which readers began to love. This approach is perhaps best shown by the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, who had more than just villains to deal with. By 1973, the now legendary Stan Lee had taken over as editor at Marvel. While Lee's success is undeniable, Lee was also no stranger to controversy, pushing ahead with a Spider-Man storyline about drug abuse. An industry slump in the 1990s led Marvel to file for bankruptcy and change their tactics. New products like trading cards became vital to staying alive, and in 1992 Marvel Studios was created to focus on film and TV. Needless to say, the studio helped Marvel escape bankruptcy and led them to a new era of success in the 2000s to where we are today. DC's story begins under the name National Allied Publications, founded by Malcolm Wheeler Nicholson in 1934. This company then merged with Detective Comics to form National Comics, and while this was the official name, it quickly became known as DC due to the logo on the front. It was only in 1977 that the company officially became DC as we know today. 1938 saw the launch of Superman, who after being dismissed as a silly character proved immensely popular with readers. Shortly after, writer Bill Finger and artist Bob Kane created another iconic hero, Batman. From here the DC roster grew stronger and stronger, with heroes such as the Flash and Green Lantern and Wonder Woman also arriving and going on to join the Justice Society of America, the original DC Universe superhero team. As mentioned earlier, the 60s was the time where Marvel began to adapt their heroes into more relatable characters. Having fallen behind Marvel sales, DC were eventually forced to follow a similar pattern. They fought back with their own younger heroes in the form of the Teen Titans, a group that many readers will recognize from their animated appearances. Much like Marvel, DC have adapted their content to appeal to new audiences. By the 80s and 90s, DC were creating comics that targeted older audiences with more complex storytelling. This move proved incredibly valuable, and iconic works such as Alan Moore's Watchmen received huge praise. As well as a changing audience, DC is no stranger to shaking up the status quo. 2011 brought one of the most dramatic reshuffles in the company's history, the New 52. Characters were made younger and more engaging to try and attract more readers. Comic-Con began in 1970 when a small group of comics, movie and science fiction fans from San Diego put on an event attended by just 300 people. Since then, Comic-Con has grown into a global phenomenon and is widely recognized as the premier pop culture convention in the world. Comics industry is also a diverse industry being enjoyed by various age groups, social class and ethnicity. For example, less than half, 47%, of comics sold in comic shops are bought by 13-29-year-olds. 72% of purchases in comic shops are by men, with 30-50-year-olds the largest age category. 59% of purchases in chain stores are by men, with 13-29 as the largest age category for both men and women. 67% of online purchases are by men, and for both men and women, the largest group is 13-20-year-olds. Comic shop shoppers are more likely to have some college education, 85%, than the general comics and graphic novel buying population, 73%. Overall, the comics and graphic novel buying public is 69%, non-Hispanic, white, 12% Latino, 10% African American, and 8% Asian. By contrast, the breakdown in comic shops is 71% white, 13% Latino, 14% black, and 5% Asian. 33% of all comics and graphic novel buyers have incomes below $35,000. In comic shops, 41% have incomes lower than $35,000. Thank you for listening to this essay taking the history of comic culture, Marvel and DC. Marvel and DC. Marvel and DC.